I want to ask you about schools because there's so much confusion about whether schools can reopen safely, whether teachers should go back without being vaccinated. And I know the CDC and the White House say that teachers should be prioritized. Everyone agrees to that. But in schools that don't yet have the proper ventilation, the ability to meet the recommended guidelines, many in underserved areas, is it really safe for teachers to go back to those schools if they've not been vaccinated?
I mean, obviously, you want to optimize the situation in schools. I mean, there are 5 or 6 things that the CDC has in their guidelines that you would like to optimize to get the children back to school where the children can feel safe and the teachers can feel safe. You know, and you brought up several of them. I mean, obviously, masks, we want to make sure we supply masks. We want to make sure that the ventilation is appropriate. We want to make sure that the spacing can be done. The issue with vaccinating teachers, obviously, we will make and want to make the prioritization of teachers' vaccination very high. But I think to say that you're not going to open up schools until every single one of the teachers get vaccinated, namely making it a sine qua non of opening, I don't think that we can go there. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to get the schools open. We want to get them open as quickly and as efficiently as we can. But we do want very much to prioritize teachers for vaccination. No doubt about that.
The government can say, you know, let's prioritize teachers. But again, they're faced with local situations and individual states are not doing that, or there are shortages. What should they do if they can't get a vaccine and they're serving in a inner city school where the kids need them, but the schools are not properly equipped?
Well, I mean, obviously, you're creating the very worst case scenario as a hypothetical situation, which in some respects, Andrea, can be a realistic situation. In those areas, then it's going to be very difficult. But you're going to have to do the best we can to address those issues, which are essentially stumbling blocks in the way of getting these schools open. We've got to do, and I've said this so many times in the past, that the default position should always to do as best as you possibly can to get the schools open. You may not be successful in every single situation, but you should be pushing as hard as you possibly can, particularly getting the resources to the states to do some of the things that you've just mentioned, to address ventilation, to address spacing, to address the availability of masks. We need resources to do that, and hopefully we'll get them.
Now, although we've been told that younger children in particular are not likely to get COVID, some do. And now there are studies in the UK that indicate that could be changing with these more transmittable variants. How confident are you about younger children being relatively safe from COVID?
Well, I have never stated that I was confident about that. I'm always concerned about everyone, including young children. It is still true that when you look at things like hospitalization, severity of disease, there is no doubt that children clearly do much better when it comes to getting infected and having relatively few symptoms or only mild symptoms compared to people who are on the other end of the spectrum, namely the elderly and those with underlying conditions. But we've got to be careful because that doesn't mean that all children are essentially going to be safe from or immune from serious consequences. We know that some children get that multisystem inflammatory syndrome, which is really something that can be very, very serious. So we cannot just ignore the fact that children, because they do much better, that they're still not in some danger, meaning you've got to pay attention to the safety of the children at any age.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.